Today I'm going to talk about two very serious and concerning incidents that occurred to Carnival passengers. The first is about a 26-year-old Army veteran who went missing and still hasn't been located as of the time of this recording. And the second is about two women who experienced a medical emergency in Mexico and are still stranded there. If you'd like to hear more, please keep watching. Hello everyone, I hope you're having a splendid day, and if you're new here, welcome. This is a bit of a different video for me, but I think these two incidents are important to discuss. And before we go any further, I just want to say that this video is not anti-Carnival. I'm not anti-Carnival. I've actually never been on a Carnival cruise, so I really have no feelings about them whatsoever. These two stories came out quite close together, and they caught my interest because all of the victims are from Florida, so I am seeing a lot of news stories about these two incidents. So I'm not picking on Carnival, and also I don't think that Carnival is responsible for what happened in these two incidents, but I do think they could have handled the first one a lot better. These are developing stories, so I'm only going to give you the information as of the time that I am recording, but it is possible that developments could occur, and if so, I will put the information in the comment section. Now, my last disclaimer is that all of this information I've compiled from the internet. I have checked several different stories, and I really did a deep dive on these two cases. So this information is what has been reported, but I obviously can't personally confirm all the details. Okay, with all that out of the way, let's get into it. First, we're going to talk about 26-year-old Kevin McGrath, who went missing from a Labor Day Carnival cruise. Kevin was sailing with about 40 friends and family members, including his twin brother, and they were all on the Carnival Conquest to celebrate his father's 60th birthday. This 3-night cruise to the Bahamas went just as planned until the last night of the sailing. Kevin's father said he last saw him when he went to Kevin's cabin to give him his luggage tags and to tell him to be sure to be at the family breakfast at 7:30 the next morning. But Kevin never made it to this breakfast, and he was reported missing shortly after. So what do we know about the night he disappeared? It's been stated that Kevin used his key card to open his cabin door at around 3:30 a.m., and this was when the Carnival Conquest was making its way to Miami. Now, ships usually arrive at port very, very early, so it is possible that the Carnival Conquest was close to land, but I can't verify that. It's also been reported that there is video footage of Kevin dancing and partying on the night he disappeared. Also, news sources have reported that Kevin's twin brother said that the last time he saw Kevin was around 2 a.m. They were sharing a room, so I'm assuming that he was either asleep when Kevin used his key card or he stayed out later, but I couldn't find the answer to that in my research. Also, I should point out that I don't believe it has been confirmed that it was Kevin who actually used his key card. It could have been someone else, but I think it is assumed that it was Kevin. So after he was reported missing by his family, the ship's crew and security searched the entire ship looking for him, but they could find no sign of Kevin. Also, I read reports that the ship's overboard detection system never went off, and also that there is no video footage of him going overboard. In fact, his father has been quoted saying, "At this point, I can't really say because it was verified that he did not go overboard and he did not get off the ship via the pass being scanned." So here Kevin's father is saying that it has been verified that he did not go overboard and also that he did not get off the ship in Miami. His key card was never scanned, and you have to scan your card in order to get off the ship. I'm wondering if they ever located his key card, but I didn't see that information in any of my research. Also, I want to point out before I go on that it is possible that Kevin did use his key card to get into his cabin at 3:30 a.m. and then he left because the card isn't scanned when you leave. So let's talk briefly about this overboard detection system. I did some research and this is what I found. I'm just going to read this. These systems use thermal cameras and micro radars to detect when someone has gone overboard and can alert crew members. So in my research, I found that there are different versions of this system and that some are better than others. But some stories that I found did say that the Carnival Conquest did have an overboard detection system, but not all cruise ships do. So after Kevin was reported missing around 8 a.m. and after they searched the ship, the Coast Guard was alerted at approximately 11 a.m. and they began their search. The Coast Guard searched 3,300 square nautical miles with helicopters searching for Kevin, but they didn't find anything. They also had the assistance of several boats. Coast Guard officials suspended their search on Thursday, September 7th. So Kevin went missing on September 4th, and 3 days later they suspended the search. And shortly thereafter, the Conquest was cleared to continue sailing. The family is desperate for any information about what happened to Kevin. They are heartbroken. Kevin's father has said, "Even if it's something for closure, we just want to not get up every day and not know where he is or what happened to him." So this is really, really strange. If the Conquest did have an overboard detection system and they had cameras that showed Kevin's cabin, and there's no sign of him falling overboard and he didn't get off in Miami, what could have possibly happened? I'm curious if you have any theories. If you do, please leave them in the comment section because I would love to discuss. So now let's talk about Carnival's response to the missing report and why they are getting some backlash because of it. Carnival has said that passengers were already disembarking when Kevin was reported missing, and security and other crew members were searching for him. But passengers were never asked if they had seen Kevin, and in fact, they were never even told that he went missing. And I think this is a really important step in any investigation. If someone saw Kevin after 3:30 a.m., they may know something. They may be able to give some insights, but the passengers were never asked. A TikTok video has gone viral because one of the passengers who was on board the Conquest with Kevin said that at the end of the cruise, she received a customer satisfaction survey, but she never heard about Kevin missing, and she just can't believe that Carnival didn't ask passengers for any information they might have. I also wonder, since they had a picture of Kevin, if security could have shown the picture to the passengers as they were disembarking, asking if they had seen him. But the ship search probably took quite a few hours, so this may be why it didn't happen. But I think Carnival should have asked passengers for information, even if it was in an email after the sailing. But Carnival said that they followed standard procedure. I would love to know what you think. Did Carnival respond correctly? Should they have done more? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now let's move on to the next incident. Natalia Cuesta, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and her girlfriend Ashley Gibson embarked on a Carnival cruise from the port of Tampa on September 11th. But an unexpected event happened at one of their stops. On Tuesday, September 12th, the families were notified that the two women never reboarded the ship in Cozumel. Of course, the families were panicking. They couldn't get a hold of the two women. They didn't know what happened, and it was hours before they learned what occurred. Natalia and Ashley rented scooters, not through the cruise line, but through a local vendor. And they set off on these scooters, and unfortunately, there was a hit-and-run accident. This incident left them both hospitalized. Natalia's mother said, "My daughter had a broken arm, her bone sticking out, and they just wrapped it up because she had no insurance." So if Natalia's mother is correct, what happened is the hospital kind of did a bang-up job on her arm, but they didn't really treat it because they knew that they would not get paid. So they just discharged her. Ashley, on the other hand, had a very, very serious foot injury, so she could not be discharged from the hospital. And to make matters even more complicated, these two women were cruising without passports, which are required in order for them to fly home. Passports are not required for all cruises. If you're going to Mexico, for example, and you're boarding and disembarking at the same U.S. port, you can use a birth certificate. Now, the hospital is saying that Ashley owes them between $10,000 and $20,000. I've seen different amounts reported, and she is the one who is still in the hospital. And the hospital says they are not going to discharge her until they're paid. The families are working with the U.S. Embassy to try to get this messy situation resolved. Natalia's mother said, "I need my babies home. Please help me get them home." A Carnival spokesperson said they are working with the families trying to get these women home. So I have some thoughts about this. And the first one is about the passport. And it is really a good idea to travel out of the country with a passport, just in case something like this happens. Second, and this is just my opinion, but I think most times, unless you're doing a beach day at a resort or something, I think most times it is a really good idea to book through the cruise line, because if this had been a cruise-sponsored excursion, the ship would have either waited for the two women or they would have arranged transportation. Also, Carnival could be liable for their medical expenses if this happened on one of their excursions. Also, travel insurance is always a good idea, but I think it's particularly important if you are doing some sort of activity, something like zip lining, for example. I actually was on a trip in Costa Rica. It was not a cruise, and someone in my group got seriously injured on a zip line and had to be airlifted, and it was insanely expensive. And if you have a credit card like an American Express that says that they have travel protection, don't think that that includes medical, because it typically doesn't. Credit cards may help you if you have lost luggage or need to cancel a trip, but they will not cover medical expenses. Your credit card company may help you if you lose your luggage or if you have to cancel a trip and need to get your deposit back, but they typically don't cover any medical expenses. I feel so bad for the families in these two cases, and of course for the women in Mexico. As of the time of this recording, they are still there. And Kevin McGrath is just 26 years old. He has young children and he's an Army veteran. My father's an Army veteran. He just sounds like a really nice guy, and I am so sorry that this has happened to the family. And that's all I have for you today. If you have any thoughts on these two incidents, please leave me a comment like I said earlier. On a much lighter note, there are still staterooms available on my Bad Moms cruise that is on Virgin Scarlet Lady, and it leaves February 21st, 2024, and it is a 4-night sailing out of Miami. And if you'd like more information, I will link that video at the end. Until next time, I hope you have happy and safe travels. I appreciate you and thank you so much for watching. Bye.